So the challenge is there. If you compare the challenge to yourself, you are smaller. If you compare that challenge to God, the challenge becomes smaller. But anytime we begin to magnify the problem, then God becomes small in our eyes, and we will see. And in that case, we begin to lose sense of the world we operate in and begin to gain sense of the sensual world, of the physical senses, of logic, of rationalization. It's in such a state of mind that even the leader's strongest allies begin to desert him. And some will cross over to fight on the side of the enemy. Please, today your Bible needs to be closed. If it's not closed, please go get it. 1 Samuel chapter 13, and we're reading all the way to chapter 14. Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel. So go somewhere and write down 3,000. Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel. 2,000 were with Saul. Now write Saul, put in brackets 2,000. Those numbers are important for our conversation this evening. Those numbers are super important for our conversation this evening. Again, if you don't have your writing material, I implore you to get it close. And we're going to be doing a little bit of technical stuff this evening. And that's why it's important that we follow the numbers, because the numbers will sustain the arguments we're going to make. So I'm going to start again from verse 1 of chapter 13 of 1 Samuel. Saul reigned 1 year, and when he had reigned 2 years over Israel, Saul chose for himself 3,000 men of Israel. 2,000 were with Saul in Michmash and in the mountains of Bethel, and 1,000 were with Jonathan in Gibeah of Benjamin. The rest of the people he sent away, every man to his tent. And Jonathan attacked the garrison of the Philistines that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard of it. Then Saul blew the trumpet throughout the land, saying, "Let the Hebrews hear." Now all Israel heard it, said that Saul had attacked a garrison of the Philistines, and that Israel had also become abomination to the Philistines. And the people were called together at Gilgal. They were rather called together to Saul at Gilgal. Then the Philistines gathered together to fight with Israel, 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen. So please write 30,000 chariots and 6,000 horsemen. We need these numbers. And the people are sand on which is on the seashore in multitude. So just write multitude. So 30,000, 6,000 plus multitude. And they came up and encamped in Michmash, to the east of Beth-aven, when the men of Israel saw that they were in danger, for the people were distressed. Then the people hid in caves, in thickets, in rocks, in holes, and in pits. So if you underline your Bible, write hid in rocks, in holes, in thickets, and in pits. And some of the Hebrew crossed over the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gideon. So underline crossed over. So we are now underlining hid, number 1, hid. Number 2, crossed over. As for Saul, he was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. As for Saul, he was still in Gilgal, and all the people followed him trembling. Now you can also underline trembling. Then he waited 7 days according to the time set by Samuel, but Samuel did not come to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. Also take note of the word scattered. So Saul said, "Bring a burnt offering and peace offerings here to me." And he offered the burnt offering. Now it happened, as soon as he had finished presenting the burnt offering, that Samuel came, and Samuel went out to meet him, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might greet him. And Samuel said, "What have you done?" Saul said, "When I saw that the people were scattered from me." Now take note of the reason he provided. "When I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered together at Michmash, then I said, the Philistines will come down to me at Gilgal, and I have not made supplication to the Lord. Therefore I felt compelled and offered a burnt offering." And Samuel said to Saul, "You have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of the Lord your God, which he commanded you. For now the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever. But now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought for himself a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be commander over his people, because you have not kept what the Lord commanded you. Then Samuel arose and went up from Gilgal to Gibeah of Benjamin, and Saul numbered the people present with him, about 600 men. So please write 600. Remember when we started, he had 3,000 men, but now he's now left with 600. So take note of the numbers. It's going to form an important part of the conversation. Saul, Jonathan, his son, and the people present with them remained in Gibeah and Benjamin. But the Philistines encamped in Michmash. Then raiders came out of the camp of the Philistines in 3 companies. One company turned onto the road to Ophrah, to the land of Shaul, and another company turned to the road to Beth-Horon. Another company turned to the road to the border that overlooks the valley of Zeboim, to the wilderness. Now there was no blacksmith to be found throughout all the land of Israel, for the Philistines said, lest the Hebrews make swords or spears. But all Israelites would go down to Philistines to sharpen each man's plowshare, his mattock, his axe, and his sickle. Now all these are farming implements. And the charge for a sharpening was a pin for the plowshares, the mattocks, the forks, and the axes, and to set the points of the goads. So it came about on the day of battle that there was neither sword nor spear found in the hand of any of the people who were with Saul and Jonathan, but they were found with Saul and Jonathan his son. And the garrison of the Philistines went out to the pass of Michmash. Now it happened one day, verse chapter 14, that Jonathan the son of Saul said to the young man who bore his armor, come, let us go over to the Philistines' garrison that is on the other side, but that he did not tell his father. And Saul was sitting in the outskirts of Gibeah under the pomegranate tree which is in the Migron. The people who were with him were 600 men. Ahijah the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eli, the Lord's priest in Shiloh, was wearing an ephod, but the people did not know that Jonathan had gone. Between the passes by which Jonathan sought to go over to the Philistines' garrison, there was a sharp rock on one side and a sharp rock on the other side, and the name of one was Bozez, and the name of the other was Seneh. The front of one faced northward opposite Michmash, and then the other southward opposite Gibeah. Then Jonathan said to the young man who bore his armor, come, let us go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for nothing restrains the Lord from saving by many or by few. So his armor-bearer said to him, do all that is in your hearts. Go then, here I am with you according to your heart. Then Jonathan said, very well, let us cross over to these men, and we will show ourselves to them. If they say thus to us, wait until we come to you, then we will stand still in our place and not go up to them. But if they say thus, come up to us, then we will go up, for the Lord has delivered them into our hand, and this will be a sign to us. So both of them showed themselves to the garrison of the Philistines, and the Philistines said, look, the Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden. Then the men of the garrison called to Jonathan and his armor-bearer and said, come up to us, and we will show you something. Jonathan said to his armor-bearer, come up after me, for the Lord has delivered them into the hand of Israel. And Jonathan climbed up on his hands and knees with his armor-bearer after him, and they fell before Jonathan. And as he came after him, his armor-bearer killed them. That first slaughter which Jonathan and his armor-bearer made was about 20 men within about half an acre of land. And there was trembling in the camp, in the field, and among all the people. The garrison and the raiders also trembled, and the earth quaked, so that it was very great trembling, so there was a very great earthquake. Now the watchmen of Saul in Gibeah of Benjamin looked, and there was multitude melting away, and they went here and there. Then Saul said to the people who were with him, now call the roll and see who has gone from us. And when they had called the roll, surprisingly, Jonathan and his armor-bearer were not there. And Saul said to Ahijah, bring the ark of God here. For at that time the ark of God was with the children of Israel. Now it happened, while Saul talked to the priests, that the noise which was in the camp of Philistines continued to increase. So Saul said to the priests, withdraw your hand. Then Saul and all the people who were with him assembled, and they went to the battle. And indeed every man's sword was against his neighbor, and there was very great confusion. So now what was happening here was that the Philistines were killing themselves. Moreover, the Hebrews who were with the Philistines before that time, now underline the Hebrews who were with the Philistines before that time, who went up with them into the camp from the surrounding country. They also joined the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. Likewise, all the men of Israel who had hidden in the mountains of Ephraim, when they heard that the Philistines fled, they also followed hard after them in the battle. So the Lord saved Israel that day, and the battle shifted to Beth-aven. The Lord helped Israel that day, and the battle shifted to Beth-aven. The Lord helped Israel that day, and the battle shifted to Beth-aven. And today we are discussing the topic, managing losses. King Saul and his 5 lieutenants. King Saul and his 5 lieutenants. Managing losses. Despite our best efforts, dear brothers and sisters, life happens. I know we try to be careful. We try to be very circumspect. We try to eat healthy, to diet, to exercise. Before going into any business venture, we try to do all the risk analysis. We try to do all the cost-benefit analysis. We try to do all the market analysis. But despite our best efforts, life happens. And there is a way one will handle losses, and he will lose more. And there is a way one will handle losses, and he will lose only that which he has lost already. There is a way one will handle loss. He will lose only that which he was lost. I'll say that again. There is a way one will handle loss. He will only lose what was lost. But there is a way one will handle loss. One will lose much more than what was already lost. And today we are studying the topic, managing losses, King Saul and his 5 lieutenants. The knowledge that life can sometimes pose difficult questions can help one greatly in the day of battle. That is why it's important that before any tragedy, that before any unbecoming event, that you talk something safely inside your heart that can navigate you, that can help you come out of difficult situation. But we want to study Saul's 5 lieutenants. We want to study the 5 of them because those are the 5 lieutenants that is available to you, available to me, available to any leader. 5. And the other 5 were all in those scriptures, those places I was asking, underline. The leader is most vulnerable when he faces a challenge that is inherently bigger than him, at least when he looks at it from man's perspective. And this situation is brought about by the refusal of man to recount his past, to magnify God, or to recount God's miraculous power. And anytime our problems look bigger than us, it is because we have stopped looking to God. And in that sense, we begin to lose sense of our heavenly reality and begin to sink into the physical circumstances that are with us. So the challenge is there. If you compare the challenge to yourself, you are smaller. If you compare that challenge to God, the challenge becomes smaller. But anytime we begin to magnify the problem, then God becomes small in our eyes, and we will see. And in that case, we begin to lose sense of the world we operate in and begin to gain sense of the sensual world, of the physical senses, of logic, of rationalization. It is such a state of mind that even the leader's strongest allies begin to desert him. And some will cross over to fight on the side of the enemy. So from where we read, if you go to chapter 14, verse 21, you will see the first sort of people that are available to power brokers, that are available to leaders. Those, we call them defectors. So if you're writing, write number 1, defectors. It is not today that people started defecting. Read 1 Samuel 4, 1921. So when you see political defections, it's not today. Likewise, all the men of, moreover, verse 21, the Hebrews who were with the Philistines before that time, who went up with them into the camp from the surrounding country, they also joined the Israelites. So the battle became tough. They have not started the battle, but at least from the numbers, these guys had 3,000. The other guys had 26,000, 20,000 horsemen, 6,000 chariots, and then innumerable company of soldiers on foot. But these guys had only 3,000, plus others. And so it was now looking as if they would lose. And then people began to change alliances. These are the set of followers. Every leader, both political, spiritual, physical, business, you have these people in your midst. Plan for them. These are the set of followers. They are so scared of losing that they easily switch to the side that appears to be having the upper hand per time. So when you see election year approaching, you see people leaving APC, for instance, to join PDP. Some of them believe that PDP will win. So once they see that the other person will win, they are not loyal to you. They just want to always win. And so therefore, they are always on the side of the winner, or the side of the person who they perceive will win. Now, the fight had not even started, so we don't know who will win. But then, once they start doing the analysis, this guy has 3,000 soldiers, the other guy has 26,000. They join the other guys to make his own 26,100. They have no convictions, this kind of followers. We call them defectors. No conviction whatsoever. They have no real identity. They just want to stay on the side of comfort. They just want to stay on the side of least trouble, least resistance. And if you're a businessman, once the business starts shaking and there's a new competitor in town, they will jump. Once there's a new rival and the rival appears to be having the upper hand, they jump. They just want to stay on the side of least trouble or the side of comfort. They always want to stay on the side that wins. They never factor into their equation that someday the battle will get tough to the point that it might seem as if you are losing, or it might be that you've lost. And you can easily spot these kinds of soldiers by their propensity to stay away from any kind of adversity. So if you have people around you who don't like adversity, who don't like trouble, who only like silence, who don't like their propensity is always to stay away. This is how you can easily spot these kind of soldiers. Their role is, however, important. You need them. Why are they important? Because they can help you finish off the enemy completely and will momentarily swell up your ranks once they sense that you are having the upper hand. See what happened with Saul. He had soldiers, or so he thought. When they came to the battle and they said that the other guys had superior firepower, they defected to start fighting on the side of the enemy. But when Saul started winning, they came back and started fighting. They don't have conviction. They have no identity. Whoever is winning is the person that will get their allegiance. If APC is in government, they are in APC. If Labour Party comes to government, they are in Labour Party. If PDP comes back to power, they are in PDP. If they say it is ZLP, they go to ZLP. No conviction, just win. And these people are around you and around every leader. Their role is important. So the best way to deal with this kind of leaders, or this kind of followers, this kind of supporters, this kind of followers, this kind of associates, allies, is to first recognize that they will leave when the going gets tough. The first way to deal with them is that when you are counting and you have 3,000, don't think that that's the number of your soldiers. Just know that people will leave when the going gets tough. Because they say the going gets tough, and it's only the tough that gets going. So this recognition saves you from needless heartaches and demoralization when they leave. Take an audit of all the people in your life today. Just know that some will leave. That knowledge alone, take an audit of the people in your company today. Know that some will leave. If you're a politician, take a look at your campaign council. Take a look at your people. Know that some will leave. And some of them will even leave on the election day. Because they left Saul on the day of the battle. You could have left 4 months ago, let's find a replacement. But no, it's on the day. They're when you need them the most. So you must realize that your numbers are not, you have not done your mathematics. Don't see that, you now say, when you come to a football stadium, maybe a rally, and you see hundreds of thousands of people hailing you, those are not your comrades. It is when the going gets tough that you know who you're with. Because once you have anticipated that many people will move long before time, then we don't keep them in positions of higher responsibility. So realize that some will. How do you find out those who will leave? Those who don't like trouble. Those who only like soft life, easy life, no adversity whatsoever. How do you know the kind of girlfriends that will leave you when you have financial challenges? People, they are easy to spot if you pay attention. They are with you only when the business is going well. Once there is a small shake in the business, they've jumped out to the next boyfriend. And when they see that you have not made money back, they are now coming back. So we keep them in our ranks. I'm talking about politics now. But we don't assign strategic responsibilities to them. So even when we assign positions of responsibilities to them, we always have a backup plan in case they leave. The other antidote is to have firm belief that God can do with 300 what he can do with 3. And he can do with 3 people what he can do with 3 million, as we've seen from the story we just read. The battle that will take you 5,000 soldiers to fight, if you have something in your heart, then that belief will help you when people start leaving. Because you know that it's not Jesse that plays the ball, that it is a system. That you can win with 3 people as much as you can win with 300. And so when men desert us, instead of losing hope, our faith in God gets strengthened the more, because once he hands us victory, it will be evident to all that he has clearly demonstrated his sovereignty. So when we are faced with depleting ranks, when people start deserting you, when people start leaving you, when friends start leaving, when comrades start leaving, especially when they going gets tough, that is when you are most vulnerable. And we have the option of making rash decisions. And that was what took the kingdom away from Saul. He saw that men were leaving him, and he took a rash decision, very rash and hasty decision. And so watch what you do in the days of adversity. Watch how you respond to heartbreaks. Watch how you respond to disappointments. Watch how you respond. Some people formed terrible habits just because they encountered disappointments. They were doing well in life until something happened to their business. They now found solace in alcohol. And 5 years after, they are now alcoholics. Some found solace in drugs. Some found solace in women, in licentious lifestyle. Some found solace in the unlikeliest of places. And although they lost their business, but now they've lost their business and they've lost their freedom, because now they are slaves to drugs. They are now addicts. So what they lost was one. But in reaction to their loss, they now added more losses. Watch what you do when you are heartbroken. Watch what you do when people around you that you love leave. Watch what you do when people around you die. Watch what you... Don't allow pain to force you into making rash decisions. As we saw with Saul. What do? We start thanking God in advance. We should be careful also not to give in to bitterness or pride. Because when people leave you when you need them the most, if you don't take time, you will be giving into bitterness. You'll be so bitter. And you have a lot of people today who are so bitter. Their girlfriend left them when they had nothing. And today, they now have money. They are married, but they still want to pepper that girlfriend. They still want to do something to prove to you. Their uncles did not help them. Today they now have resources, but the bitterness is still locked up in their soul. Yes, some people left you when you were running for office. They even left you on the day of the elections. But you have now won, sir. But the bitterness is still locked in. You have to take time. So we should be careful not to give in to bitterness, number one. Then also, when you achieve success despite, you also now check your pride. If you achieve success despite of the fact that they did this to you, they betrayed you, they left you when you needed them the most, now check pride. Because pride will come in. Because those deserters, those people that left you, they will start coming back when you're winning. And then you become proud. And you start, because they will start sauntering back to their original formation. So what do? We welcome them with all cheerfulness for them to add value, no matter how little. Because you saw that with Saul. When Saul started winning, the Philistines started running away. But the men who were with the Philistines started killing the Philistines. So they can help you finish off the enemy completely. So don't chase them out. Don't say, I don't need you again. Welcome them with all cheerfulness. Even while you have made peace with the fact that they will still live again. We should also gauge our pride when people desert us. When people desert us, gauge your pride when people leave you. Because Saul wanted to save face. Saul wanted to save ego. Saul wanted to save his reputation from where we read. Among his remaining lieutenants. He had 3,000 people. And then he blew the trumpet and men gathered more. But by the time he looked around him, you saw only 600. Even the 600 that were with him out of loyalty. They were with him trembling. Remember where we said underline trembling. But they were so afraid. But they said, even if we are going to die, let's die with Saul. And so, because 2,400 had left, he was now trying to save face, to show that he's the macho man, to show that he's the leader. He now went and offered sacrifice. He now made a very terrible choice. A leader must be prepared to face shame. Sometimes be prepared to tell yourself, I can't pay salary. It's better to tell them, sorry, I can't pay salary for this month, than to do something illegal to make money, just so that you can appear to be the boss. A leader must be prepared. Tell the people, you must be prepared to face shame. Now, I don't know what to do with this economy. Tell them to face shame, even when it seems as if you're confused. Don't act unconfused, because the truth is that you are confused. But in trying to pretend that you are not confused, you now take a terrible decision. So a leader must be prepared to face shame, to face humiliation, to face confusion, even among his inner circle. It is the mark of an emotionally stable person that is willing to acknowledge his weakness. It's only very weak men that always pretend to be strong. When you see really strong men, when they are confused, they tell you that I don't know what to do. But give me some time. This thing looks difficult, but we can do it. Do you see it with David, as you will soon see? But the man wanted to form Galadima. And he went and took a very rash decision. And when the prophet came, he said, you took a very foolish decision. He says, the Lord would have established you, but because of this foolishness, you will win this battle, but you've lost your kingdom. He says, the Lord has rejected you. He's looking for another man after his own heart. I would have established you and this kingship in your family forever. But because of what you did, you have lost it. So sometimes when you are experiencing a momentary pain, don't take a decision that is life-changing. A leader must be prepared to face shame. It is the mark of an emotionally stable leader that is willing to acknowledge his frailty. Always wanting to prove that we know. Always wanting to prove that we have a firm grip over the situation. Even when we know that you don't have money, you are trying to prove that you know that you are confused, but you're trying to prove. You know that you don't have it, but you're trying to prove. In that kind of trying to prove something that you don't clearly have. In trying to show the 600 men, I'm still the man. He now went and started doing sacrifice that he's not supposed to do. It is better to acknowledge weakness and then collectively cry out, how can we get through this? What can we do? How do we? And sometimes cry. Don't pretend that you know. Because sometimes the ideas might come from one of your lieutenants. The last thing to note about defectors is that fear can be misdirected. So everybody fears. Nobody on this earth does not. Everybody has fear. But we all direct it differently. So you can direct your fear towards the trouble. You can direct your fear towards the enemy. You can direct the fear towards the persecution or the situation. Or you can direct your fear to God. The Bible says that no man serves two masters at the same time. It's impossible. Either fear one and despise the other. So anytime you're afraid of God, more than likely you won't be afraid of the situation. But anytime you're afraid of the situation, check, your fear of God has vanished. Once you are afraid of any situation, just check, your fear of God has vanished. Because it is impossible to fear two opposing realities at the same time. Impossible. Once you're afraid that you're going to be broke, once you're afraid of the situation, that's when you start lying for money. Your fear of God disappears. Once you're afraid that if I don't sort this out, things will happen, your fear of God vanishes. Instantly, you will look for it, you won't find it. You won't even know that it has vanished. You can't fear two opposing realities at the same time. It's impossible. Jesus said that you cannot worship God and cannot worship. So you cannot fear your situation and fear God. So you now choose, do I fear this situation or do I fear God? The Bible says, fear God, who can kill both you and your spirit and the soul. This other situation can kill the flesh, but it can't touch your soul. It can't touch your spirit. But God can damage the situation, the spirit, the soul, and the body. He says, fear that guy. But some people fear being broke so they can lie to make money. They fear being left alone so they can start doing all manner of unhealthy things just to retain their friends. And in the case of Saul, Saul lost his fear of God. Immediately he began to look around him to start observing his environment. He lost his fear of God. Now go to 1 Samuel chapter 9 verse 21. You will see what happened to this man. Now, and Saul answered and said, am I not a Benjamite, of the smallest of the tribes of Israel, and my family the least of all the families of the tribe of Benjamin? Why then do you speak to me like this? So this was in chapter what? Chapter 9. They were telling him, you are going to be the king. And he said, how can I be the king? I'm of the smallest tribe. Benjamin is the least of the tribe. Even in this least tribe, my family is still the least. Even in this list, I am still the least. I am not qualified. But today, he has grown so big that he is not even a Levite, but he's now, let alone being a high priest, but he's now offering sacrifice. Immediately he started fixing his eyes on the situation. He lost his fear of God. And the prophet told him, you have acted so foolishly. Check your actions, check the options available to you, especially when you are in a very difficult situation, very uncertain situation. That's when men make reckless and foolish decisions. That's when sometimes you have lost two, but you can make a decision that will cause you to lose 10 more. Someone died around you, you are in pain, but you can take a decision that will cause things. If someone broke your heart, some people you tell them, we are now a chronic womanizer. What happened? Say, a girl broke my heart. And they are now sleeping with everything in the skirt. And even when they now want to stop to commit to their wives, they can't stop. Watch how you react to pain. Watch how you react to uncertainty. Once we begin to fear our situation, the inevitable consequence is that the fear of God will vanish And once we take our eyes off God, once we lose our fear of God, we will take steps that will offend God. Fear not, therefore, for a Christian is no longer an advice, is a commandment. For a trained Christian, fear not is a commandment. It's not an advice, it's not a motivational speech. For the trained Christian, not the untrained one. Because for the trained Christian, he is a commandment. A matured Christian is known in the weight he attaches to God's words, including the words that seem like a mere suggestion. Because sometimes God can speak and some of the things he says might look like it's mere, but fear not, actually if you analyze it, fear not, do not fear is do not fear, is a commandment. Like don't sit down is don't sit down. Don't stand up is don't stand up. Don't commit adultery is don't do this is don't do this. So don't fear is don't fear. It is a commandment. Attach weight to that. If you don't attach weight to that, on the day of trouble you will see that once your heart shakes, then your decisions will become irrational. The second type of lieutenants that we have, you have them already in your life now. I'm telling you, the people in your life now, you have them. Are those who hide in their holes. Remember when we said hiding in the holes? These ones will not join hands with the enemies. At least they are better. The first one, once you're about losing, they will join the enemy to finish you off. But these ones will not join the enemy. But once you start winning, they come back. They don't have any, they are like soldiers, no allegiance to any country. They're just only fighting on the side of the winner. But the second are people who hide in holes. These ones, they will not join with your enemies. But once the battle gets tough, they crawl into their holes. They may have been trained to fight, but their understanding of the battlefield is deficient. They only are mighty men of valor when they are winning. They know how to fight. Make them, they can fight. But they only fight when it appears as if they are winning. If you watch football, you will see players like that. Once they are 2 goals up, you will see how they are skillful in the football pitch. But when they are 2 goals down, they begin to make several unforced errors. They don't know how to lose. They hide in their holes. They are valiant once the odds are in their favor. Once they retain the upper hand, you will see them fighting. But once the tide changes and it appears as if the enemy is gaining the upper hand, their default position is to find the nearest hole. They find the nearest cave. They find the nearest pit. They fall into that place. So in your campaign, once they look at the polls and it appears as if you are losing, they will not come to the meeting again. They will not join the opponent, but they will not come again. I'll tell you, my great-grandfather is sick. So, but your great-grandfather has died. Sorry, no. It's not my great-grandfather, it's my uncle's great-grandfather. They will find excuses. They hide in their holes. But from where they are hiding, they will be peeping at the battlefront. They will be peeping. They will be watching the news. They will be watching your status from their holes. Even if their comrades are dying, they are being slain, they can't leave those holes to come and help. There are some friends. Once they start dragging you on Twitter, they will go silent. If they start dragging you, they will not tweet anything for that whole week. There are people, when they start dragging you on Twitter, they will join the people to drag you. You say, I thought this guy is my friend. They will join the people to be dragging you. But this kind of people, that week that they are dragging you on Twitter, they will go offline. They will not comment, ping. They will not say anything. But from there, they will be watching you. Even if you are being they know that you're a good man. But something happened and they won't say anything. I went to see one man, a man I thought he was still in prison. I couldn't get to him. He had issues with the government and EFCC came after him, but he was my friend. I went to see him. And he asked me, why are you here? I said, I came to see you. I said, I made efforts. When I heard that EFCC picked you up, I made efforts. I didn't know your wife. I didn't know your lawyer. I didn't even know where the courts they will arraign you in. I tried to see you, I couldn't see you. And when I saw, he said, you came to see me. The man almost broke down and started crying. An elderly man, well accomplished. His friends left him. They know that the accusation is not right. They know he's a man of, but they won't say anything. Once the government comes against you, they won't pick, they won't say anything. They will pretend that they don't know you. So that the government will not join. They will not join in the persecution. If they are your friends, let them be your friends. I will come to see you in prison. What is the problem? What did you do? But these guys, they know. Even if you are, they will still be peeping. It may break from their hole. It is paining them that they are not able to help you, but they can't help you. Because they like comfort. They don't like anything, no skin pain. From their hole, they are seeing you being slaughtered. They will not lift a finger. The best they can do is to be showing remorse in their hearts, but they are still in the hole. They like safety and comfort so much so that the only time they can charge into battle. But you know what? Immediately they say that you have been discharged and acquitted. Guess who will come to your heart that day? Them. I know you will make it. The minute you win that election, guess who you will see in your house that evening? Them. Immediately that problem is over. Guess who? They will be the loudest celebrants. These guys hide in caves, they hide in holes. They are in your midst. Prepare for them. Don't be surprised in the battles of life. They are there. They are somehow dangerous, these kind of soldiers, because they only fight when the battle is all in their favor. If the leader is not careful, if you're not careful, you may be under the constant pressure to prove that you have the upper hand, so as not to fire the soldiers in the hole. Because you know that when it looks as if you are being defeated, they will go to the hole. So for you to retain their services, you always want to show the macho, that you always want to show that you're in charge. That was what Saul was trying to do. That was why he was trying to offer the sacrifice, to show that God is with him. So that the remaining 600 will not hide in holes. You are always under constant pressure to prove something. You know that the company is under immense financial pressure. But you're you know that you're under pressure. But you still want to pay bonuses. You know that the family is under pressure. Your finances are under pressure. But you still want to sustain your lifestyle. You still want to be going for holiday. There are some men, they know that they are under pressure, but their wives are people who hide the holes. So they want to pretend to be buying things, to be doing all those things that they do in terms of plenty. Now this man is seeing that his business is shaking, but he still wants to be flying his wife private first class. Madam, enter economy. When things stabilize, we get back to first class. No, they won't do it. They want to show that they are in charge. Meanwhile, something awful is going on. The leader has a responsibility to encourage himself in the Lord. You will see from when we start studying David, how David will say he encouraged himself in the Lord. So you have the responsibility to encourage yourself and your comrades, to charge them, telling them, we can do this, we can do this. Even though it looks bad, we can survive this. First, you encourage yourself, and then you encourage the lieutenants. But even after that, there are certain battles that separate men from boys. And the leader must therefore be prepared to fight with even a tiny section of his army. Must be prepared to fight with only half. If you have 100 people in your campaign council, be prepared to go to the election with only 30. Be prepared. Be prepared. Be prepared. So the leader wants but there are certain battles, like I said here, that separate men from boys. So the leader must therefore be prepared to fight with even only a fraction of his army, or even be prepared to fight alone. as you will see with David. Maybe let us read David. Let us go to 1 Chronicles 11 verse 10. Now these were the heads of the mighty men whom David had, who strengthened themselves with him in his kingdom with all Israel to make him king, according to the word of the Lord concerning Israel. And this is the number of the mighty men whom David had. Number 1, Jashobim, son of Hakomites, chief of the captains. He had lifted up his spear against 300 men and killed by him at one time. In one battle, this guy killed 300. And after him was Eleazar, son of Dodo, the Armite, who was one of the 3 mighty men. He was with David at Pasdammim. Now there, the Philistines were gathered for battle, and there was a piece of ground full of barley. So the people fled from the Philistines. Are you seeing what is happening here? The same thing that happened to Saul happened to this man. On the day of battle, his soldiers fled. So the people fled. But these guys stationed themselves in the middle of that field, defended it, and killed the Philistines. So the Lord brought about a great victory. So what happened to Saul happened to David. But David did not make a rash decision. Every battle in life, if you are a leader, you must fight with half of your army. There are some battles that will test the men. They will run away. And so what happened was that when this battle started, these guys ran away. And these strong men stayed. That was why one man killed 300. David stood his ground. The men with him stood their ground. Eleazar, son of Dodo. But there are those who hide in holes. So you're not to be surprised at how many men. So once the battle starts to change, you will see the men who are in their holes, they will start to crawl out, as you saw in the case of Saul. And they will regain their lost confidence and they will go to battle with you. So you're not to get bitter with this kind of people, and then you're also not to get arrogant. And you're not also to prevent them from fighting when they regain their confidence. Because their assignment is important if the enemy is to be resoundingly defeated. So the leader has the responsibility to properly train himself and his fighters. But even more so, he has to train himself the most. So you train your fighters, but you train yourself the most. Why do you need this training? So that you can adapt to any warfare dynamics. The day when you are winning, you can fight. The day when it appears as if you are losing, you can fight. The day you have only 3 men with you, you can fight. That's the kind of life David lived, not Saul. Once Saul sees that his army is leaving, he begins to take rash decisions. David, if you are fleeing, he doesn't look back. He continues. Fought 66 battles, did not lose one. So a leader must be prepared for all kind of work. There are people, they only fight when they are sure of victory. They don't fight when they are the underdogs. David can fight from victory. He can fight as an underdog. He can fight. So if he's an underdog, he will fight hard. If he is the big boy, he will still fight hard. War with God majority thus assumes its proper meaning for this kind of warrior. So when people say war with God with majority, you don't know whether you believe that until the day of battle. Because when you've started with 3,000 men, and you now look around, you only found 600. It's only then that we will now know that war with God is really majority. The third set of people that will enlist in the army, these are very dangerous. Pursue them, sack them immediately, fire them immediately. The third set of people we're talking about. They enlist in the army. They get trained. They occupy positions. They polish their uniform is always well ironed. They clean their boots. In the morning, you will see them polishing their guns. You will think that they are soldiers. But at the sound of the first gunshot, they take a flight home. You see, the guys that we previously discussed now are better. These guys will keep fighting. It's only when the battle gets tough that they run away. But this kind of people I'm talking about, the third set of people, once they fire the gun, once the gunshot is fired, they take a flight home. As at the time of counting, you might think you have 3,000 men. It's only when they have fired the shots that you know how many men you have. That number you had, for instance, how many people do we have registered for the course? Tell me from the back end. 160. How many people regularly come to class? Between 25 to 30. So when you see 160 people registered for a course, don't go rejoicing. It's when the shots are fired that you know who will come. This is only a training that people are supposed to benefit from. So once they read this thing, once people read, oh, this is about Bukka School of Government, they all start off. Check your university years now, all the people you got admission with, and check how many that graduated. Check all the people that start a course, check how many will finish it. Once they fire the gunshot, they've left. So the time the warrior knows how many soldiers he has is at the heat of the battle. So the best way to deal with this set of the people is not to recruit them at all. Don't hire them at all. Even if you mistakenly hire them, fire them immediately. They are not strong men. They're always complaining, always afraid, always, hey, what will happen? What if we lose? What if this happens? What if this? They don't like any. Fire them immediately. Don't let them be around you. They can be home watching TV. Just be retweeting for us. Don't come here. Just be retweeting. Be clapping for us on Twitter. They can be home watching TV. They can be cooking for the soldiers, but they should not join the army in any way. They don't assign any. Don't let them be manning the polling units. Don't make them polling unit agents. Don't make them anything. Don't make them court witnesses. If you enlist them as court witnesses to defend your case in court, they will not show up. Don't assign important responsibilities to. Don't even assign any at all. Because you know that their destination is home. The people who hide in caves are at least staying in the caves and be looking. Once you start winning, they will jump out and help you. But this one will be home. They will go home. And they have taken your space. They have taken the uniform. You gave them even guns. There may even be liabilities. I remember during the Civil War, I didn't participate in the Civil War, of course, but we were told the stories of men. Once they see that the battle is tough, they will carry gun and shoot themselves in the hand, or they will shoot themselves in the leg, so that they can be taken off the battle. So for them, it is better for them to shoot themselves in the hand, so that when they see their hands bleeding, they will not carry them. So when they shoot themselves in the hand, you now need 2 soldiers to carry them home. The people that are supposed to be fighting will now be carrying them out. You notice them in the organization. They are always backbiting. And you know the funny thing with these people, they don't live alone. They live with others. In an organization, they'll be telling me, Gechi, I will leave this company. This company is not making progress. Our company is not making progress. We will leave. If you want to leave, pack your bag and leave. But they will be trying to live with others. If you are building something and you hire this kind of people, or they are your volunteers, they will be telling people, they will be coming to work, but their heart is not there. They will be trying to tell, they will be sowing disunity, trying to demoralize people, because once they start running home, others will run with them. They are not comfortable going alone. They say, I will resign. But they will make sure that they get at least 4 or 5 people to resign with them. Now, God does not know what he's doing. They will make sure that they pull people out. People who have run companies here will know the kind of people I'm talking about. Once you notice that, fire them immediately. Don't wait for them to resign. Fire them. They will take up space. They take up medical supplies. They take up oxygen that they will need, that the people who are fighting need. They even be eating the food of soldiers. And you know that in a proper war front, sometimes they go with blood bank, they go with medical supplies. The blood that is for people who are really fighting, you are giving them. They consume material and other supplies. And then in running home, they convince others to run with them. These others that they convince may be real fighters who would have stayed on to fight with you if not for these other guys. They also put others at risk because once they are not there to man their position, the battle strategy gets deformed. For instance, imagine that you are in the trenches and these guys are supposed to bring in bullets. Now, the people who will be in the trenches, the person who is supposed to bring bullets has dropped the bullet and ran home. The people they are supposed, don't give them any responsibility whatsoever. They will put the whole soldier and the company at risk. Try to eliminate this kind of people from day one. And even if they manage to beat your screening protocol, even if they manage to pass the interview, once you find them out, take them out. Give them transport fare because you know that they will go home. Again, the leader is not to be bitter or surprised. Then number 4 is betrayals. Betrayals. Psalms chapter 62 verse 4. Psalms chapter 62. Let's see this kind of people. You're not the first person that got betrayed though. And you won't be the last. Factor is into your life that at some point in your life you will be betrayed. Now don't go be suspecting everybody, looking around. No, that's not. But factor in that disappointments will happen. The only thing they do around you is to cast you down from your high position. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. Always scheming for a way to sell you out, to give your secrets to your competitors, to sell out. The other ones are even better. These ones will just go home. The other ones will just hide in the hole. The other ones may fight on the enemy camp, but they are not doing it because they hate you. They are doing it just because they want to win. But these ones are deliberately bitter with you. Always looking for an opportunity to strike. Betrayers. They were in Saul's camp. They were also in David's army. You will find them in your army too. They only bless with their mouths. That thing that their mouth is saying is they doesn't get close to the heart. Psalms 20. So how do you deal with this kind of men? You need external help. Psalms 12 verse 1. I'll show you how to deal with this man. This was David crying in Psalms 12. He says, "Help, Lord, for the godly man ceases. For the faithful man disappear from among the sons of men. They speak idly, everyone with his neighbor. With flattering lips and a double heart they speak. May the Lord cut off all flattering lips and the tongues that speak proud things." David knows how to ask for help. Once he encounters betrayers, he starts crying to God, "Help, help, help." Godly man ceases. At some point in your life, godly men will cease. Faithful men will cease. You will be in drought, but not drought for rain, drought for credible men. Drought for faithful men. It's every leader must face it. Except if you're not going to be a leader. Faithful men, you will be in need of them. The best way is to cry out for help. But there is the other kind of men these are the 5 lieutenants that Saul had. Every leader has them. These are faithful men. Everywhere you go, I will go. Your God will be my God. If you die here, I will die with you. And Saul had these men. David had these men. But you see the thing about the heart posture is that Saul did not see his 600. He was counting the 2,400 that left him. Let's go to the story of where Saul died. So you will see how many men died with Saul. These guys fought with him. They saw that they saw that they were losing. They didn't run, they died with him. Loyal to him to the point of death. Yet, Saul was focused on 2,004 that left. That's the thing with bitterness. Always thinking of who did wrong to you. You will not ever count the people that helped you. is that same person that hurts you. There are people like that. You will do 10 good things for them. Just this one mistake you made, that's the one they will hold on to. That's all. That's all. See all the friends you have. You are not thankful about them, but this one that left is the one that you are focused on. See all the family members, see all the people around you. See the 600 men you have, Saul. But you are fixated on those that left. I want to read for you how Saul died. Or maybe find out, go to First Chronicles and see how Saul died. The battle became tough. They fought hard to defend Saul. They did all manner of things to defend Saul. But they all died. They didn't run. Even when it was obvious that Saul was losing, as in this case that we read now, the 600 stayed. They were afraid, but they stayed. They were frightened, but they stayed. They knew they could die, but they stayed. Every man has faithful men around them. But you know what? We don't count them. You don't count those loyal people that stay with you. You only focused on the people that left. That's Saul. And today we have invited Saul to this class to tell us not to count our losses. The Bible says, count your blessings, name them one by one. That's how David operated. David had his strong men. That was what David did when we just read now. We don't know the number of people that fled. In the case of David, they didn't give us the numbers. In the case of Saul, they gave us the numbers. But that day, David was not interested in who left. He kept on fighting. The few people he had around him, that was where they became strong men. One person killed 300. One continued to kill people until his hand glued to his sword. Every man has this kind of people around them. Look through your company. At all the things, you will find one person. All those things you went through, you will find one person. But usually we don't count our blessings, we count our losses. You did 3 businesses, one failed. It's usually that one that failed that you are after. See all the people you have in your family. It's only this one that died that you are focused on. Mind how you manage losses. Because the thing with losses is that once you lose something, many times the thing you lose is not even that thing you lose, it's that you lose a sense of the ones you have. The thing with loss, I will say it carefully, is that loss forces you to lose the sense of what you have. So, this man lost 2,400 soldiers. But that's not the only thing he lost. He lost the sense of appreciation of the 600 around him. And it was in another battle that you saw what those 600 did for him. They all gave their lives to protect him. All of them, they died. All of them. Saul had faithful men. David had faithful men. Every leader must have faithful men. But you must have betrayers. But over time, we tend to focus on who betrayed us, that you leave the people that did not betray you. See all the people that did you good. It's only these people that did bad. Those are the ones you remember. See all the good things that happened in your life. It is this one that is yet to happen that you focus on. You are alive. Your kidney is functioning. Your liver is functioning. It is this money that you lost. All the while you've been making money. I hope you know that it's not everybody that can be depressed. It's not everybody. David cannot be. The Bible says, and David encouraged himself in the Lord. And David encouraged. So why would he need to encourage himself? Because the situation was discouraging. Don't Don't think that David was meeting success. Nobody goes from success to success to success to success and ever happily ever after. If you're going to do anything worthwhile, there will be monumental setbacks. And watch how you react to those setbacks. Now, before you meet those setbacks, there must be something you lock up in your spirit. You lock it up. It is firm. Lock something in. Lock something in. Know that people can die. Take an audit of all your family members and all your love. Know that death is part of the equation. Now, we are not praying for them to die. But just know that death is part of it. Is before nobody trains for battle on the day of battle. Look at your businesses, they're doing well. Thank God. But know that one day, life will check you out. There are people like Job. He's not like Saul. All his children died in one day. The investments collapsed in one day, yet the man was there. But Saul just lose 600 men. He started making rash decisions. And look at what happened to him now. He lost 2,400 soldiers. But because of that loss, he made a decision that caused him to lose his life and lose his kingdom. Hear what the prophet said. He had acted foolishly. And because of this, God has taken the kingdom away from you. He won that battle. The same battle he was afraid that would swallow him, he eventually won. Did you know that Saul committed suicide? Did you know? Did you know that Saul killed himself? There is something about people who don't count their blessings. They only count losses. They always damage themselves. There are about 3 or 4 kings in that lineup of the 66 that committed suicide. They have the same trajectory, the same story. Doesn't count. David will count his blessings. You remember when David went out to fight, and when they came back, he saw that these same Philistines again have raided, took all his wives, took all his children, took all his property, took everything. And he started crying. It was even worse that when he was crying, his boys wanted to kill him. Because not did they just take David's wife, they took their wives also. They wanted to kill David. And David encouraged himself, stopped crying, and asked God, what should I do? Should I pursue them? Should I overtake? Will I recover all? And the Bible said that God told him, pursue them, overtake them, and recover all. It will not be Saul. Once Saul faces that kind of situation, he starts making foolish decisions. Watch how you react to pain. Watch how you react to anxiety. Watch how you react to disappointment. I know you have planned out your life. I know you have a wonderful business plan. I know you have good plans with that girl you're dating. I know you have beautiful things lined up, but watch how you react to disappointments. And I'm not saying that you should have a negative mindset, always expecting bad to happen. That's not what we're talking about. But we're saying that if at all bad event happens, it is not the end of life, because you now lost one thing. If you don't take time, see the story of a young girl, for instance, who a boyfriend betrayed, maybe betrayed. In the Nigerian palace, served her breakfast. So you lost only one relationship. That's one. It is painful, but it's only one. As painful as it is, and it can be painful, but it's only one that you lost. Because of that, this girl develops a negative attitude towards all men. And because of that negative attitude, she begins to replicate this in her life. So every man, once they see that negative attitude, they will leave. So instead of losing only one man, she loses all the men in her life. Even when she's in marriage, she continues to act in ways, if she at all gets married, she begins to act in ways that sabotage. She will not open herself again to love. She will not love with all her heart, and she will not accept love. Even when you are telling her that you love her, she's still thinking that's what Chike said. Even if you are genuine, she will be treating you as if you are fake. And after trying so hard, you leave her. The same story with boys. That the thing with pain is that if you lose one, if you don't take time, you lose more. I've seen people who died because someone died. I've seen people who committed suicide because they lost their business. Not David. David always encourages himself in the Lord. If you see the kind of difficulties David went through, Saul did not go to up to 1/10. Saul did not go to 1/10. The only thing with Saul was that he had what is it called? People deserted him. Never will anybody kidnap Saul's wife and children. It happened to David, yet he did not commit suicide. He did not take rash decisions. He did not start control. So there are things to learn about Saul, but we will only give you one class because there are others we have to talk about. Now we have started dealing with concretes. Remember when we started the class, we said that there are abstracts, that there are concretes. We are now dealing with concretes. In Saul alone, you can develop 8 classes. But today we are dealing with how to manage disappointments and losses. Gratitude. Thank God for the 600 that are still left. I know someone died, but thank God that you are alive. You have 8 relations, one died. Thank God for the 7 that are alive. That's the thing with losses. It is not actually that thing you lost. If you don't take time, you lose your sense of appreciation. You lose your sense of appreciation. You have 2 businesses, one collapsed. You don't even want to know that there's one remaining. Or even if you lost all your money, but you still have life in you. You lost your girlfriend, but you still have life. You lost your birth, you still have. Even if the marriage collapses, which we are praying that it will not, you still have life. Men have gone through difficult situations and come out. It is not everybody that can be depressed. It's not everybody that can take their life. It's not. There are men who are grateful. They don't count the losses. They count the positive. But there are men, they only meditate on the losses. If you are not such a person, you are like Saul. And we're telling you, if you keep that attitude, there is only one way those people with that attitude end up. Self-destructing themselves. They put up a time bomb, put it in their stomach, and it blows them open. Always meditating on who hurts you, who hurts you. If you have such friends, get out from them. They always tell you, my uncle did this, my auntie did this. Every time they are telling you what people did, and it must be bad. They won't tell you who bought them shawarma. They won't tell you who gave them a lift. They won't tell you who helped them. The only thing they remember about their university days is who did not help them. But they won't tell you that lecturer that helps them. They won't tell you that classmate that helps them. That person that squatted them in the room, even if it was for 2 weeks. That person that borrowed them money, they don't remember such things. It's only pain that they meditate on. They don't remember the person that gave them lifts. They don't remember the person that helped. They don't. The only thing they remember is negative. Even if someone you are in love with dies, you don't remember the good times you shared with them. The only thing you remember is that they are no more. Meanwhile, when they were alive, you were not appreciating that they were alive. It's the business. People that have business, they always complain about their business until they lose it. And they now start getting depressed about the business they were complaining about. Gratitude helps you to focus on what you still have and not on what you've lost. That was what helped Job. If he was meditating on his kids, if he was meditating on his businesses, what happened to Job? If it happens to Saul, what do you think he would do? Just 1/10 of the problem, he committed suicide, he killed himself. Because the battle got tough. He got injured. But if you read the account of Saul's death, the Bible says that Saul died because he disobeyed the Lord. Maybe I will read it for you. I think it's in 1 Chronicles, if you guys can find it. 1 Chronicles, where they are talking about Saul's death. you will see the reason they provided. It was this rash decision he took here that caused the downward spiral from one bad decision to the other. And guess what? God was planning to help him that day. The Philistines started killing themselves. Even before they started killing themselves, there was a great earthquake. And they were like, what is happening? They started killing themselves. He won the battle that day, but he has taken a rash decision. He's lost the kingdom. And it will be soon enough before he got into another fight that ultimately took his life. Have something bigger in you that you lock up in your spirit. Have something, lock it up in your spirit, so that in the day of trial and in the adversity, you have something to beckon on. Adversities will come, trials will come. Lock something in, have something that is bigger, and I recommend God. Trust in the faithfulness of God. You see David, anytime he faces a trouble, he cries a little bit and will remember God. How you escaped from the last trouble is how you escape from this present one. So every man is either in trouble, just coming out of trouble, or about to enter into trouble. Write it down. You are either in trouble, or you just got out of trouble, or you're about to enter into trouble. Like that thing they say in our palace, wahala no dey finish. So if you're in trouble as a person who needs 1,000, if you get 10,000, you will find out that there are troubles. If you eventually start making 100,000, you find out that if you eventually have 10 million, you will still see that there's still trouble. If you become a millionaire, billionaire, as a trillionaire, there's still trouble. You have to lock something in that helps you navigate through difficult situations. Have something that helps you. You must have this thing. It is not on the day of tragedy that you start building muscle. It's not on the day when you see Ronaldo playing. It's not on the Champions League final that he starts training. When you see David fighting, it's not on the battlefield that he starts fighting. As we will see with the story of Achan. Lock something up in yours before you meet trouble. Something must be there. If not, the trouble will swallow you. The disappointments. Prepare that men will leave you. Prepare that disappointments will happen. Prepare that people will offend you. But lock something up. When 10 people offend you, thank God for the one person that did not offend you. Stop meditating on losses. Stop meditating on who helps you. My uncle did not help me. Stop that. Thank God for the people who helped you squat in school. Thank God for the person who gave you a lift. Thank God for the person who bought you anti-malaria the day you were almost dead. Thank God for all the little helps you've received. Thank God for the Okada man that carried you and said, don't worry. Thank God for stop remembering who hurt you. Some people, it's what they are now married, but they are still recounting what their girlfriends did to them 15 years ago. But this girl you now married is trying to love you. You don't remember it's the person that hurt you. Lock something up. At this point, I will stop here and invite us to add our perspectives to the story of Saul. We brought Saul back from the grave today to tell us his story. To remind us that if we keep focusing on our losses, that there is only one way to end: more losses. More losses. More losses. If you can focus on what you have, it will multiply. Whatever you focus on multiplies. If you focus on loss, you will multiply losses. If you focus on good, you will multiply good. If you focus on bad, you will multiply bad. If at all you don't learn anything, learn from Saul. His voice is echoing from the great beyond. That's why we brought him to this class. We went to where he was buried in the scriptures and brought him and made him alive for you again. He saw that men were leaving him. He started making rash decisions. He was afraid that he would lose the battle, and he started doing rash, foolish decisions. And when you study him further, you see further foolish decisions. But we'll give him only one class. If we finish the others, we may come back to him. Lock something up in your spirit that helps you in the day of adversity. adversities will come in conclusion. If they're not here already, they're on their way. Or you just got out of one. Life will ask you very difficult questions. You need to have the answers before going into the exam hall. You need to know how to deal with defection. It's not only politics, it's not only in politics. You're not the first person that men will leave their side. Men left Saul. We need to learn how to deal with disappointment long before it happens. Decide ahead of time. You need to learn how to deal with losses. You're a businessman, you've been investing and making profits. One day loss will come. Not causing you, it's just the natural course of life. But those losses are not coming to destroy you. You will find out that many times after those losses, you get much more than you were doing, better than you were doing before the loss came. But if you don't handle it well, it can be the end of that business or the end of life for many. Make a budget that sometimes the people around you may die. Plan. We're not praying for that to happen. We pray against it. But things can happen. Things can happen. And when they do happen, learn how to respond appropriately. So that you don't focus on what you've lost and then lose sight of what you have. And by the way, I invite all of us here to read the Bible. Read it, and before reading it, pray. Ask God, if you are the one that wrote this Bible truly, help me to understand it. And then when you start reading, even if you don't understand it, just be reading and taking note of what you're reading. Eventually it will begin to make sense. This scriptures contains wisdom for life. Who would have known that political defection happened in the Bible? Who would have known? It's there. It's there. Who would have known that people will betray you? It's there. Who would have known it is there? You're not the first person. We are not the first person. And it is usually arrogance to try to use our own lives to form an experiment. Don't experiment with your life. There are some things you can read in a book and you find out quickly. Or you can spend the next 10, 15 years trying to find out on your own after so many losses. That's one of the advantages some of us have. That we don't want to learn from our own experience. We learn from other people's experience. It's a cheaper way to learn. I can find out from my own experience, or I can find out from Saul. I can find out from David. I encourage us to pay attention to the scriptures. Read it as often as you can. It's not just to go to heaven. It contains things that can help you here on earth. But even hereafter, read. We've not even crossed into the New Testament. Sometimes I feel like if we do 500 classes, that we will not exhaust some of the things the Lord has graciously unlocked to us from the scriptures. And it's because we take our time to study it. Find time. Find the time. Find the time. Maybe one day we'll just do a class on how to unlock the scriptures. Because the scriptures sometimes can be locked, and that's why many people don't like reading it. Let me give you just one key before we leave. Maybe this is a bonus key for this class today. Don't read the scripture for others. Anytime you're reading the scripture, ask, what this thing I'm reading now? Because there are some times when you're reading about the children of Israelites on their way out of the promised land, you are now like, what is wrong with these children of Israel? What is wrong with them? No, they are telling you about yourself. It's yourself that they are telling you about. It's not them. Stop reading the Bible for dead people. Read for yourself that is alive. This thing I'm reading now, how does it apply to me? That's one key. It's not all the keys. If you start reading the scripture for yourself, this man took this decision. How does it apply to my own life? Think about it. Then that key can unlock the scripture. Thank you so very much, and have a wonderful